Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأيوب إذ نادى ربه أني مسني الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين. فاستجبنا له فكشفنا ما به من ضر وآتيناه أهله ومثلهم معهم رحمة من عندنا وذكرى للعابدين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. صدق الله العظيم. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man wala. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We send our prayers to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. May He protect us from this pandemic and strengthen us in this uncertain time. My name is Hangga Fatana. I am the head of Department of International Relations at Universitas Islam Indonesia, and I will be your host for today. Welcome to the third Sarasehan webinar, Islam and the Pandemic 2021. This Sarasehan is made possible by the collaboration between Department of International Relations, Universitas Islam Indonesia, and Embun Kalimasada, Universitas Islam Indonesia. You might be questioning what Sarasehan is, especially if you are not from Indonesia. This particular word might sound foreign. Sarasehan in Indonesian culture is a special meeting conducted to hear insights and opinions about certain issues in a certain field from the expertise. This is actually what we are going to do today. The third session of Sarasehan will discuss the development of science at large on the post-pandemic era. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused tremendous impacts to higher education institutions, both in terms of academic, accreditation, and development of science. However, we believe that there is a silver lining in how it revealed the power of collaboration in science. This is also seen as the trying times through which the contribution of Islam towards the development of comprehensive and holistic environment for the advancement of science and technology within the context of COVID-19 comes under the spotlight. This session will also allude to the discussion on the resilience of Muslim society in the face of pandemic and the relations between women and science during the pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, the committee has collected several questions online from the audience to be discussed in the discussion session. And for that, with me today, we have 4 speakers from different corners of the globe. I'd like to welcome Professor Dr. Olgun Cice, the Executive Board Member YODAC Higher Education Council from North Cyprus. Assalamualaikum, Professor Cice.
Alaikum salam. Thank you.
I hope everything is going well with you. And we have...
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. Fine.
And we have the second speaker, Professor Dr. Bostra Arnold, Professor of Counseling Psychology, King Khalid University, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Zagazig University, Egypt. Assalamualaikum, Professor Arnold.
Good morning.
Alhamdulillah. I hope you are okay today and stay healthy and optimistic. And
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you. And our third speaker, Professor Dr. Mohammad Mumtaz Ali, the chairman of the Committee for Postgraduate Studies and Committee for the Seminars in the Department of Usul ad-Din and the Comparative Religion IRKHS, IIUM, International Islamic University, Malaysia, in Malaysia. Assalamualaikum, Professor Mumtaz Ali.
Walaikum salam, brother. Thank you very much. Jazakallah.
Thank you very much. And our last speaker, Dr. Trias Satyawati, she is Assistant Professor at the Faculty of Business and Economics and Head of the Center for Gender Studies, Universitas Islam Indonesia in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Trias Satyawati.
Waalaikumsalam. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah.
Shukran for
Thank you, Dr. Satyawati. And ladies and gentlemen, we will start the discussion by hearing from our speakers today, and we will continue into the discussion session. To talk about the issue, first I would like to invite Professor Dr. Olgun Cice. Professor Cice is a lifetime learner and expert on higher education, studied mainly in internationalization, policy and development, accreditation, and quality assurance areas. He is willing to explore new challenges and contribute to the higher education institution with his 25 years of teaching, research, accreditation, and quality assurance experiences and networking in global higher education in Europe, Mediterranean, Middle East, Far East, in the United States. Professor Cice currently serves as Executive Board Member of CEE NQA and YODAC in Cyprus, building his experiences on the quality assurance and improvement activities of the member agencies as well as institutions from Central and Eastern Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, while science and technology links and knowledge exchange with higher education institution, Professor Chiche today will discuss the internationalization of higher education, quality assurance, and accreditation during the pandemic from Western perspective, including Europe and United States. Please welcome Professor Chiche. You have 12 to 15 minutes and the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Anga. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, I would like to begin with the internationalization of higher education. I think that's our reality, especially after the pandemic. We experienced that the world is getting much smaller. And now what we are doing is an example of that. From all around the corner, we can connect easily and discuss, exchange the best practices, support each other, collaborate, and at least provide some new findings, whatever we have. So name it in the health sciences or in the social sciences or in any other fields of our expertise, we can do that, which is really an advantage. So thanks to technology. But at the same time, technology also brings some challenges, as we all experienced, and the new developments are sometimes really making everything upside down, what we have experienced during the last 1 year through the pandemic. However, when it comes to the education, especially in higher education, I think it is like a must for all our young generations, and it's an ongoing process. So we cannot really stop that. The learning is always and everywhere. Even with the limitations that we are experiencing, we can try to overcome those limitations wherever we are living in any part of the world. Of course, this is a big challenge. So we don't have the equalities in terms of accessing to the technology, science, and knowledge, but we have to get the use of the existing situation and the existing tools available for that. That's what we all are trying to do. The good thing about what we are experiencing now is to share among ourselves with our colleagues from the same field, with our neighboring countries, with our neighboring institutions, with similar type of institutions from other parts of the world. So they're all getting connected, even virtually, but effectively, I believe. So having said this, let's come to the specific point. What has been going through the higher education during the last 1 year? I believe it has changed everything, going back to 50 years maybe. So we have to reset. We have to set up the new rules and procedures and practices in the higher education as well. I have prepared some slides, if I may share with the audience and go through this. Maybe it's much better. I hope you can see that now. Can you see, Hanga?
Yes, doctor. Yes.
Sorry.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Sorry. Now, what happened in the post-COVID-19, and most probably all of us experienced these phases in the transition for higher education. So we realized that there's something new coming. You know, it's called new reality. It's not a new normal is something that is available, but it's not a normal for us, what we are experiencing. So I prefer to call new reality. We have to live with this reality. What we did, it was a rapid response. So suddenly we closed the universities and students start having the courses online, and we try to understand what is this uncertainty, the complexity, how long it will continue and what will happen and so forth. So later on, we try to evaluate and understand each other and exchange and then start to adapt and create for the future. What we did was the use of digital technology, like this platform that we are sharing. So that became very much crucial for all higher education institutions and users, by all means, from students to academics, from admin staff to the management and all the stakeholders. To be honest, this new reality has changed the DNA of higher education. I was in a virtual conference in the US last year, and I heard this term, changing the DNA of higher education. I really thought so, and I like this phrase. So that's why I said it's upside down, and last 50 years of all the known has been changed. So it really affected the DNA. So it brought together some challenges as well. The challenges that we experience with the student interaction in the instructional way, mostly online or hybrid or high flex, whatever we call it. And then the institutional structures, structural changes are there as well, from management to the structure and the coordination and so forth, and communication. And in the society, we realize that there are changes going on. Many people start working from home, so it affected their interaction and the socializing and the regular communication of people and so forth. And finally, we experience some regulatory changes as well. So all institutions, whether it's a university or an higher education agency, accreditation agency like ours, we have to adapt our law, regulations, bylaws according to the new reality. For example, in our case, we didn't have an online education in the law. So with the reality we face, we have to quickly adapt the new law or bylaw so that universities can proceed with the distance education. So having said all these, it brings that we have to have maybe a need for a new model. So including the universities by their structure, including the higher education agencies or councils, they have to find some differences, some changes, and some new route for their progress. Not only in terms of teaching and learning affected during the pandemic, but also all traditional forms of external quality assurance need to undergo a modification. What I mean here is, throughout the last year, all around the world, we experienced that students are having the courses remotely. Faculty and students are having some challenges in terms of learning outcomes, in terms of delivery of the content, and especially in the practical works, the internships and so forth. So therefore, the main concern becomes the quality of education, quality of knowledge that they have experienced, and also the ethical issues, how to ensure that the promised degree or the content is delivered 100% or 90% or 80%, whatever it is required. So when assuring the quality, that's the, I think, tricky point. We as agencies or accreditors, evaluators, we have to make sure that things are going smoothly. It's not only the delivery of the content or the subject, but also the outcome, the quality assurance of that is very much crucial. So we are getting now more concerned with this in the higher education. I should say it's the same for the research. The research has been affected badly as well, especially in the application fields, STEM courses or health sciences. The research also have been affected in terms of collaborative research, in terms of laboratories and so forth. So that's the main point where we are now, and we have to comply with the quality assurance standards to make sure that students are still getting the same level of knowledge, education, and quality. I think this is,
Thank you.
at this stage, with the limitation of time, I kept it very brief. So I will be happy later on to discuss and answer if any comments or questions available. Thank you very much, Anga.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Ogunchiche, for such a very inspiring presentation on how higher education are currently encountering big challenges. And it comes up to the conclusion that we are now entering, at least the bottom line is, 3 phases of new reality, new normal, and building for the future. And we'll get back to you, Professor Chiche, with the questions from the audience later after we get the presentation from the other speakers. Thank you very much, Professor Chiche. We're going to the second speaker, Professor Bostra Arnold, PhD. Professor Bostra Arnold, PhD, is a professor of counseling and psychotherapy, Department of Psychology, Faculty of Education, King Khalid University, and Psychology Department, Faculty of Arts, Zagazig University in Egypt. She is a member of the American Psychological Association, APA, a member of the British Association for Counseling and Psychotherapy, BACP, member of the American Psychological Counseling Association, ACA, and a member of the advisory board of many counseling centers, and a member of many international journals. She has more than 25 years experience in studying in universities such as Zagazig University in Egypt, Al-Qura University and King Khalid University in Saudi Arabia. Professor Arnold holds the King Khalid University Award for Excellence Scientific Research Brands 2020. Professor Arnold will discuss about the resilience in Muslim society in the face of the COVID-19 outbreak. As the COVID-19 challenges Muslim faith and change their lives, it is important to understand how Muslim society adjusts their lives to survive during the pandemic. Professor Arnold, please, time is yours.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Yes.
Thank you for your invitation for this webinar. Good morning, everybody. I will talk about building resilience in Muslim societies to face COVID-19 pandemic. All of us know human history indicates it's suffering from many natural disasters, such as floods, earthquakes, storms, wars, and many pandemics. Thus, what we live today in COVID-19 pandemic isn't an exceptional situation that humanity hasn't experienced before. This is why we all must think about how to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 pandemic has caused profound economic, social, educational, psychological, and emotional problems. That is why psychologists have tried to identify strategies that help humans to cope with the COVID-19 stresses. One of the most important strategies to cope the COVID-19 is resilience. Resilience is very important. In these days, we all need resilience because this pandemic negatively affected individuals' mental health and society well-being. Positive psychology focuses on developing individuals' strengths and virtues to face stress resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. Psychological resilience is considered one of the human personality strengths that can help us to face difficulties and crises such as COVID-19 pandemic. Resilience is a human trait acquired through life experiences. It is considered a focal point that achieves psychological balance in our lives. Thus, as the COVID-19 pandemic imposed on us all new and unexpected stresses, therefore, psychological resilience is one of the more personality traits that keep our lives despite daily difficulties and hassles in this pandemic. The concept of resilience includes effective and positive coping with adversity situations that negatively affected his well-being. Psychological resilience refers to a dynamic process that involves adaptation to stressful situations. The higher level of resilience, as the many studies revealed, related to fewer mental health problems, such as anxiety, depression, sadness, obsession compulsive. Therefore, resilience is through COVID-19 is very important because it may protect people against the negative effects of stress by relieving the impact of aversive events. Thus, we can say that resilience improves mental health and the treatment outcomes. Now, we need to know how individuals develop his or her resilience. There are many steps. If we take these steps, sure we will increase our resilience, such as adequate and good sleep, practicing religious habits such as prayer, fasting, remembrance of God, and other acts of worship. Also, practicing exercises to improve mental and spiritual mindfulness. Practice gratitude and meditation exercises. Maintain good communications with others. Also, seek help from family members and friends. And sometimes, some psychologists, if the individual develops symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorders. Also, doing sports exercises and go to gardens and green spaces to improve spiritual mindfulness, mental health, and resilience, as well as healthy eating habits to maintain a strong immune system and prevent physical diseases. All of these actions contribute to achieving an individual balance, self-regulation, and also reduces stress associated with COVID-19 pandemic. Governments play an important role to improve individuals' resilience by reducing individuals suffering from stress and attention resources, Also meeting the basic needs of foods, shelter, and health care of a community members. Also providing care for all individuals, such as online psychological counseling and psychotherapy programs. Also providing entertainment programs for children, providing appropriate care and help for elderly people and special needs, and the people with special needs, whether residing within their families or in care institutions. Also encouraging community members to practice self-care, provide good and effective health care, as well as providing a tracking system for people who COVID-19 and their contact with them to reduce the spread of this infection. Also, emphasis on the commitment to preventive measures. Also, plan preventive and therapy programs to end the family violence during the COVID-19 pandemic. In the end, we concluded that humans have a great capacity for resilience in the face of disasters and crises such as the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, each of us must develop our psychological resilience to find it at the time it needs. Practice increases the individual psychological resilience, including religious practice, spiritual mindfulness exercises, meditation, and gratitude exercises. We must also support each of other and work together as individuals, families, societies, and countries to overcome these negative effects of COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Arnold, for such inspiring presentation. It is quite interesting to see that we should know that the COVID-19 pandemic is not an exceptional situation, that it is therefore we need to deal to find the solution together, the government with society hand in hand. And then I think what Professor Arnold also has argued that positive psychology, this includes resilience, is very important. Building resilience include effective and positive coping on the resilience, and it may protect against negative effect of stress. And there are a number of endeavors or steps that can be undertaken by both government and individual level. From the context of individual, it is interesting to see that we need to have enough sleep, exercise, and we keep our religious rituals, maintaining gratitude, having good communication, and not to forget to seek help and assistance from our family. While at the governmental level, it is also important to note that the government should be able to formulate policy to reduce the stress from the people. Thank you very much, Professor Arnold, for such a great presentation. We'll get back to you soon with the questions from the audience. Now we turn to the third speaker of our Sarasehan webinar today. We have Professor Dr. Mohammad Mumtaz Ali. Professor Dr. Mohammad Mumtaz Ali is a professor at the Department of Usul al-Din and the Comparative Religion, Kuliah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences. He developed interest in several areas of Islamic thought, such as developmental studies, modernization, epistemological and methodological studies, critical thinking, philosophy of science, and modernity. His books on Islamization of knowledge are considered as bestseller books in the campus. Professor Mumtaz Ali is currently serving as the chairman of the Committee for Postgraduate Studies and Committee for Seminars in the Department of Usul al-Din and Comparative Religion. Professor Ali will discuss the need of truthful and reality-oriented worldview-based technology embedded within the framework of authentic and universal values and morals. This is very important given the current challenge of contribution of Islam towards the development of comprehensive and holistic environment for the advancement of science and technology with the context of COVID-19. Professor Mumtaz Ali, you have 12 to 15 minutes to give your view, and the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear brother. Nahmaduhu nasalli ala rasulihil kareem mabad. Thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thanks to Brother Hanga Fatahana, Head Department of International Relations, University Islam Indonesia. Thanks to Muhammad Rizki and Hasbi Aswar, who contacted me and invited me for this. Dear participants, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The main theme of the webinar today is Islamic scientific development and innovation in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. Organizers aim through this webinar to rethink about the current condition of academic and scientific development in academic institution so that we can understand the role of the Muslim world in modern science and how the science can be developed in the world. And finally, what would be the future of science? To understand these concerns, I feel that we need to understand the position of Islam on science. Position of Islam as such. After the creation of man on the earth as Khalifatullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it very clear to human beings that they have to work, think, move based on knowledge. True, authentic and universal knowledge, which is generally called Islamic revealed knowledge. Through this knowledge, we are also informed that all creation is serving the needs of mankind. Therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made all creation subservient to us, to human being. In the light of this, we observe throughout human history, development of science and technology, which is a universal phenomenon. Every nation and community has contributed towards this. The process of development of science and technology continues in the Muslim world within this perspective. Muslim contributed based on true, authentic, and universal worldview, supported by values and morals. But when Muslims neglected the importance and significance of the worldview, that caused decline of science, technology, and also decline in other branches of knowledge. In modern world, no doubt, science was developed, but also at the same time, it was detached from true worldview. And what is the result? It has caused tremendous problems to both human beings and environment. Unfortunately, in the Muslim world, there was a blind following until Muhammad Asad, Muhammad Iqbal, Sayyid Hussain Nasr, and some others argued in favor of the revival of Islamic science, which means the relationship between the true worldview and the knowledge should be reconnected with science and technology. COVID-19, I think, has reasserted the need of Islamic science and demand for a comprehensive and holistic approach in science and technology, which involves not only true worldview, but universal values and morals. Based on true worldview, universal values and morals, we have to understand and develop science and technology to address several problems of human societies. Keeping in mind that both science and technology are serving the cause of human needs. They are not the masters of human being. They are subservient to human being. When we plan to contribute for science and technology, we need to set priorities. I feel that in the Muslim world, agriculture and medical sectors need more attention. Based on true worldview, universal values and morals. Why? Because Bertrand Russell, in his famous work, Scientific Outlook, published in 1962, argued that no doubt science and technology and scientific civilizational development is necessary. But he said, along with this, what we need is wisdom. And he explained what does he mean by wisdom. He said, wisdom to him means the right kind of purpose of life. Then Bertrand Russell said, this is something which science and technology cannot provide us. Because this is not their jurisdiction. Today, people are talking about scientific and technological development and asking for the need of green ethics or embedded ethics. In short, they are turning back to our basic argument that science should be based on values, morals. It cannot be separated neither from a true, authentic and universal worldview, nor from values and ethics. The biggest problem of humanity today is that they have assumed that every worldview is true, authentic and universal. Whereas this is not the truth. If Islamic worldview is true, then we need to definitely rethink whether the claim of Islam for its worldview, values and morals is really established based on rational arguments, scientific evidence, historical facts, critical and comparative approaches. What is the situation? We have to understand this. COVID has affected all nations, all superpower, lower power, all powers, all communities of the world, and has demonstrated that the fate of humanity is only one single fate. If we in the Muslim world think how can we contribute in the area of science and technology, I think the best opportunity for us to contribute in the area of philosophy of science through projecting a true, authentic, universal worldview, values, and morals. OIC Standing Committee on Scientific and Technological Cooperation has come up with a grand action plan up to 2025. But I feel that this plan lacks the emphasis on true worldview and right kind of purpose of creation as contended by Bertrand Russell. No doubt, people are concentrating their energies on various issues in various dimensions. Are those energies are being invested for the right kind of purpose of life, for right kind of purpose of society, for right kind of purpose of creation of human being and every other creation? This question of right kind of purpose of creation has created hundreds of problems because it was not understood properly. People started developing so many attitudes and behaviors. As a result of that, as we read and we understand in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cautions people, gives them warnings. I have noted that from the entire Muslim world, there is no powerful message or voice which is raised in favor of the Quranic perspective on natural calamities and pandemics. I feel that the technological and scientific development must accompany it within the true, authentic, and universal world view. Thank you very much, brother moderator and the chairman of the Department of International Relations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Mumtaz Ali, for such enlightening presentation. It is important to note, if I may review and summarize your presentation, that the development of academic institution put questions on how science should develop and how the future of science should be shaped. And the question also put on the role and the influence of Islam in science, and the question about the revival of the Islamic science. And it is also important to note that I think your argument is crystal clear that science should be based on values and morals, and on such arguments, on such basis, we need to rethink the claim of Islam and the universality of science and technological development. And I think you have concluded your presentation that the Quranic perspective on the science and technological development of Islamic perspective is very important to shape the future of science and Islam, particularly during this pandemic. Thank you very much, Professor Mumtaz Ali, for such enlightening presentation. Now we turn to the fourth speaker, Dr. Trias Satyawati. Dr. Trias Satyawati is an assistant professor at the Department of Management, Universitas Islam Indonesia. She has an interest in teaching in the subject of human resource research methodology, human resource development, and performance management. She currently also serves as the head of Center for Gender Studies at Universitas Islam Indonesia. She has an interest in teaching in the subject of human resource research methodology, human resource development, and performance management. Her research topic of interest include organizational learning and innovation, women's leadership, and work-family conflict. Apart from academic and professional activities, Dr. Satyawati also active in social, religious, and community organizations. This includes ISIA and the Indonesian Muslim Intellectuals Association. Today, Dr. Satyawati will discuss about the women and science during the pandemic. It is important to note that our preliminary data reveals a hard fact. The effects of the coronavirus pandemic on scientific publishing output suggest that female researchers, particularly those at early career stages, are the hardest hit. For female scientists, the pandemic also means a significant threat to the current gender equity gains achieved over the past few decades. Dr. Trias Satyawati, you have 12 to 15 minutes to give your view, and the virtual floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, I want to talk little things related to COVID-19, but I want to give some explanation that related to women in science. I did like a qualitative story about 4 leaders in science, and I want to share about it. Okay, as we know that in the world, our population tend to be women is increasing. And in Indonesia especially, also the same thing, that the sex ratio related to women and men. We know here that half of it more is men and women in the second one. But in some countries, as we know that the ratio of women and men, like in Qatar, we know that the baby was born was closer to 1 year, and related to expectancy of woman life here, that woman is longer in life than men. And if we want to deepening about the female researchers here, that in worldwide data, we found that near to 30% women is mean that less than men. And we will find also the new data about the female researcher here, largest population in Central Asia, like Kazakhstan and so forth, amounting to near 50%. In Arabic countries, 41.5%. And also in Eastern Europe and North America, less than in Arabic and Central Asia. But in Indonesia, we still have no data that more details about that. But in our university, we have like 43.6%. Okay, we will learn about some data about the previous research related to woman researcher here. Wait a minute, it's so fast for me. We have like some research, yeah, that many things that related to woman researcher, woman in science is a bit hard here. Because of what here? I want to make it larger here because it's so fast for me. Okay. As we know that the learning environment, that relationship to family and also to the public role and so forth for women researcher is a bit harder than men. And also we found that very few women in science and very hard for surviving here. And also the recognition of the colleges is very hard. And the motivational of women researcher here depend on the individual needs and some priorities, yeah. The marital status, child condition, work also influence the woman in science, including the woman cannot productive as men. The most important thing in here is the work pressure influence of work family, as we know as role conflict here. And is the woman also very hard to have like social support, yeah, to make them more high in ability and so forth to their career. And also we found here that women get professional award and rewards that increase for 2 decades than men, but fewer at higher level than men. Women also consider to lack their skill, which is like needed to be successful scientists and career orientation, family, parents, and also become the important factor for women to choose as a career here as a researcher. We know about women career barriers here. There are many things, and also work family role conflict here, and fear of success. There are felt by many women because if they tend to be clever and higher than men, or they're supposed it will be dangerous in their family for some families. Women in science also very hard to have like social support, yeah, especially for their sports, their parents, their kids, and so forth. In our case, we just learned about 4 informants here. All of the informants come from my university, and we found that they can achieve their profession, yeah, because the supporting of their families and also the motivation here, it's so good, yeah. And they have like personal interest, dedication for Indonesia, giving benefit to other, worship, to do worship, parent wish, and they had many achievement also, like very famous in their subject, and then in structural position, and also like international award related to research, yeah, like getting UNESCO and Royal for Women in Science, and also a pioneer for Indonesian book author about fuzzy logic, something like this. There are many books that produced by them. And they also face some problem like the conflict between works and their family, and then the structural position and academic position, and also denied by others, and then also wish to be married for someone who not married yet, and getting discrimination. And here we call it as woman and science is look like the yellow light on the Ivory Tower because it's so high, so bright, but it's look like separate with the communities. Especially in pandemic era, they still did something relevant with their careers, yeah. Even they work at home and working from home and getting more burden in their families, but they still do many things that related to their field. In the first, we found that they have like intrinsic factor of women scientists. Even some of them also have like extrinsic factor. And this like a good will from them because they want to give benefit to others and build networking. So even in pandemic, they also do the same. And then here we can find that achievement of female scientists also very good. They got award from universities in national level or international level and occupying main position in our university, but they have lower performance in public service or in Da'wah Islamiyah. But we also found that the social support for married women come from husband in form of license, while unmarried ones come from parents in the form of emotional support. But the emotional, the mind problem that arises from women scientists is like time constraint, emotional, gender inequality in the form of marginalization, mental violence, multiple workloads, and another problem is having no friend. This finding is look like will be faced, yeah, by women in science, such as fear of success, and then work-family conflict, time-based conflict, strength-based conflict, yeah. And little story in the pandemic era, even their condition is like the Ivory in the Ivory Tower, but they still do best thing for their career and also for their ummah to give benefit for others. Like one of them here is Prof. Is Fatima. Yesterday, she is also like handling Global Women Breakfast and part of the chapter around the world, and Indonesia is the first in the morning. And there are like 347 chapters around the world who celebrate women breakfast globally and doing benefit for the communities, and also still what we call it like collaborating and building networking around the world in order to give the benefit not only for Indonesian section, but all of the human being in this world. I think that is the most important of their role in science. Even they face some challenges and also some hard thing in their life, but we need to support them and to understand them that their role in science is very important for us, especially in our pandemic. Even they are very busy with their working from home and also their family and also their laboratory work and job. But we need to understand that their role is still very important for solving our problem related to our pandemic, especially that related to science, technology, engineering, and also math. I think, Pak Hangga, that is our presentation. So we hope that our understanding in women in science will be better, and we support them to do better in the future. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In the future. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Trias Satyawati, for such inspiring presentation. And it seems that, as you have mentioned during your presentation, that women scientists actually have internal and also external factors in influencing their working performance. And while these internal and external factors interacting and influencing one to another, women scientists tends to persist and insist to provide benefits to the society at large and to their families. And it is also interesting to see that the women scientists also encounters some obstacles during their time of working. This includes time constraints, emotional, gender inequality, and also some others obstacles at the society at large. And however, given this research finding by Dr. Satyawati, it is also important to highlight that despite their role in the university as a scientist, the role in the family is very important and still be the priority in the family. Thank you very much, Dr. Trias Satyawati. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will start our discussion, and I have collected questions from the audience. I have 4 questions from the audience and 1 question for each speaker. I'll start from Professor Chiche. There is a question, Professor Chiche, that what should be the focus for higher educational institutions to improve their research and educational qualities after the COVID-19 pandemic?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Hanga. Yeah, it's a critical question. I think what's going on now all around the world is, from the accreditors' perspective, they are trying to find out the new methods, new ways, new tools to measure the quality and continue with their accreditation and their trust upon the programs offered by the institution, higher education institutions. The best way that we have come up with now, and this is a practice in the US, CHEA, practice in Europe through ENQA, which is the European Network for Quality Assurance, and CIENCA, where I am a member. And the INQA is the overall umbrella organization for the quality assurance agencies in the world. They all agreed upon that. The pandemic has changed everything, as we discussed earlier. So the quality assurance agencies, accreditors, evaluators need to find the new digital ways to tackle with the issue of quality assurance. What we mean by digital issues, digital tools, is the online or virtual evaluation. As you may know that in the classical accreditation or evaluation procedure, we receive the documents or the reports from the institution. We go through that, and then we make a visit, the real visit to the premises, and asking questions, interviewing, and visualizing the laboratories, classrooms, talking to students, and so forth. So it's one-to-one and on-site actual visits. So these visits also turn into a virtual site visit, as we call. I personally experienced a couple of it by myself. It's interesting what it's really working. I mean, surprisingly, it's working as well. So it's just a matter of having the technology infrastructure and formatting. So what we do now, instead of going from, let's say, Cyprus to Slovenia, which is my case, it's a real example, and I have connected from my home. It was about at least 3 days actual online site visits, and we have interviewed with the management, including the rectorate office, faculty bodies, students, admin staff, different faculties, research assistants, you name it. You can have many breakout rooms. You can have smaller groups of 4 or 5 to interview. You can virtually visit the labs, classrooms, and discuss whatever you prefer with the audience. So therefore, this online evaluation, online accreditation, online site visits are emerging issues, and now it's establishing the basis. And at the same time, institutions, organizations, universities are putting the basis for that. What I mean is the legal framework and the procedures, guidelines, roadmap to do this, and it is now getting a reality. I believe even after COVID, after the pandemic, this will be like we do in the universities, a hybrid model we will follow up. I hope it answers.
Thank you very much, Professor Gunchiche. Yes, I think the keyword is new digital tools and the provision of the technology infrastructure will shape the future of higher education institution, particularly in developing their research and educational qualities. Thank you very much, Professor Chiche. Now we turn to the second question from our audience to Professor Bostra Arnold. The question is, how should Muslim countries prepare and formulate their policies in order to strengthen the resilience of Muslim communities? Yes. Professor Arnold, please.
Thank you. The resilience of society means a sustainable ability of society to benefit from the available resources and to provide the appropriate limit necessary for a good life. The governments in Muslim countries must innovate their policies to make Muslim societies more resilient. I talk about many steps if any governments in Muslim countries take, it will be increase the society resilience. Also providing care for all individuals, such as online psychological counseling and psychotherapy programs. Also governments providing entertainment programs for children, providing appropriate care for all individuals in the community, special elderly people or special needs people. Encouraging community members to practice self-care. And also, governments must plan prevention and therapy programs to end the family violence during the COVID-19 pandemic. These steps, if any governments in Muslim countries, if takes it, will increase the resilience of the society. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you so much, Professor Arnold, for such comprehensive answers. I take note here that the government should undertake a very comprehensive policy, particularly a government from the Muslim countries, from the self-care, prevention, until the endeavor to reduce the stress of the COVID-19 impact. Thank you so much, Professor. Now, we turn to the third question from our audience to Professor Mumtaz Ali. Professor, could COVID-19 pandemic open a way for the renaissance in the field of science and technology, particularly in Muslim societies?
Thank you very much for this question, dear participants. And the importance of this question is to be answered with reference to humanity. What I feel that the renaissance of Islamic science or the Muslim contributions for the sake of Muslims, for the sake of Muslim countries, or for the sake of humanity. Not only this pandemic, but current situation in the world today. If you look at the statistics of poverty, refugees, wars, sales of weapons, and many more things, indicate that humanity is badly in need of a worldview which can help them to achieve their material development, but based on spirituality, morality, and universal values. This pandemic has given a call to thinking minds in the Muslim world to think how can we as Muslim, based on our Islamic perspective, can contribute for the betterment of humanity. Definitely, this pandemic has created several challenges. Most of the focus is on economic and financial and health challenges. To address these economic or health challenges, I feel that the biggest challenge which has been overlooked for decades needs to be addressed. I would emphasize the challenge of a true, authentic, and universal world view. If we ignore this issue and we continue our efforts, I feel that we will lose our energies. We need to redirect or direct our energies for a right purpose, with the right direction. Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you very much, Professor Mumtaz Ali, for the inspiring answers on that. The keyword is we need to find the new direction on where the science and Islam will develop after the pandemic, along with some keywords as spirituality, morality, and universal values that should attach to the development of the future science and Islam. Thank you, Professor Mumtaz Ali. Now we turn to the fourth or the last questions from our participant, to Dr. Trias Satyawati. Dr. Satyawati, we have questions about how could women contribute in the development of science, both in science, technology, engineering and mathematics and humanities after the pandemic? What are the preconditions that should be set to give more access to women in the field of scientific research? Your opinion?
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. For the first, related to how could women contribute in the development of science, both STEM and humanities after the pandemic. I think in here, women in science who decide their life for science, so they must have commitment to develop their research consistently. So the second one that we need to understand, what are the preconditions that should be set to give more access to women in the field of scientific research here? Intrinsically, they need to be more self-confident and assertive in their life communication, that they have limitation in their role as their community member. Because especially in Indonesia, the community member will judge them as not social in life. So become more self-confident and assertive is very important for them to face their life. And then externally, we need to support their choices and their way of life, because I think for women in science, their time for doing research will be more compared to the common woman. Maybe that the life is different. But for humanities here, women in science and humanities have different kind of life compared to another woman. So in here, women must be commit and consistent and engaged in their choices in life without any doubt, and do their best for giving benefit to others. I think this is my answer, Pak Hangga. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Trias Satyawati, for such inspiring answers. I think I found, and I take a note on three keywords. The first is the need to maintain the commitment, and the second is about the persistence in maintaining the working performance, and the last one is the need to develop self-confidence. To be able to, nurture, to encounter or to survive during the pandemic of COVID-19. Thank you very much, Dr. Trias Satyawati. Ladies and gentlemen, before we turn to the end of our session today, I'd like to ask from each speaker to deliver 1 to 2 minutes closing statement. If I may, first, would like to invite Professor Ogun Chiche to provide 1 or 2 minute closing statement, please.
Thank you very much, Anga. It's really, as you said, inspiring discussions and presentations and flow of knowledge. I'm very happy and glad to be here today. I think what I experienced from my 30 years of international higher education experience as an academic researcher and administrator, the problems, the issues that we discuss are almost more or less same all around the world. I worked in US, in UK, in Dubai, in Singapore, in Cyprus, so all around. And what I experienced is, yes, we have many similarities. We are on the same boat, and just the way the culture, the methods, and the resources are making the differences, to be honest. But as I said at the beginning, the world is getting smaller and smaller thanks to technology and the communication. So we have to learn from each other. We have to exchange the good practices. That's what all the people doing all around the globe now, because we are in an uncertain times and things are getting much worse and challenging for academia as well, universities and research as well. So there are some colleagues who are one step ahead of us so that they could share and guide us. We can learn from each other. So these kind of platforms are the best opportunity. I really thank you all for giving this opportunity and glad to be here. I'm not very pessimistic. Inshallah, things will get back to another new reality, which will be upgraded, hopefully, and learned more, and will continue providing to the science and technology and to humanities in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Ogunchise. Now we turn to the Professor Bostra Arnold. Over to you, Professor Arnold, for the closing statement.
Thank you for this very important discussion. Thank you, Prof. Olgin. Thank you, Prof. Mohd, Dr. Trias, for this very fruitful discussion. I need to say one statement. Each of us must develop our psychological resilience to can cope this stress related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Bostra Arnold, for the closing statement. Now, we'd like to invite Professor Mumtaz Ali to deliver the closing statement. Please, Professor Ali.
Thank you, Brother Hanga. First of all, I congratulate you to maintain equality, gender equality, inviting 2 male speakers and 2 female speakers. Thank you very much. I think the concluding remark I would like to say, we need to be assertive, scientific, and creative in our all endeavors. We need to stand to serve the needs of people in general in the best possible manner, whatever we can do. But for this purpose, we have to develop a critical and creative approach. More importantly, we have to have confidence in our creative energies. We have to give up a habit of imitating, borrowing, adopting, and assimilating things. We need to be innovative and productive. Thank you very much.
Very impressive. Thank you very much, Professor Mumtaz Ali. Now we would like to invite Dr. Trias Satyawati to provide the concluding remarks. Over to you, Dr. Satyawati.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I'm so happy to meet Prof. Arnold, Prof. Ali, and Prof. Cice today speech. Our speech is very useful, I think, for us especially, and also for any other scientists around the world. But in my section, I just very interesting to speak about women leadership, because in our family, we need to increase our understanding and our program to make our family and quality life and can develop the human being better, morally, mentally, and also scientifically. So we will have Islam in the world better and in the future, and especially for women who study around the world can be better in their career, in their household, in their communities. So no scare, no fear to be a successful woman in the world compared to their spouse, their kid, their parents, parent-in-law, and so forth. So how to be confident to be a good woman in science and their another career. So they will be so brave to face the world and giving benefit to others very completely, full of meaning until the end of our life. Thank you, Dr. Hanga.
Thank you very much. The concluding remarks from Dr. Trias Satyawati marks the end of our session today. Professor Cice, Professor Arnold, Professor Mumtaz Ali, and Dr. Satyawati, thank you very much for your time and discussion. And thank you for coming to this Sarasehan session. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always protect us with health and happiness. And for everyone who is watching, please stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Department of International Relations, Universitas Islam Indonesia. And thank you everyone for watching this video from the beginning until the end. I am Hangga Fadana, signing off from Universitas Islam Indonesia. It's time to zip. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.